Hey, White Sox fans, guess what? This is such a spontaneous, even though we've had a whole off day to prepare for it. I'm not even sure what podcast number this is. It's 60 something. It's in the title. You'll figure it out. I'm going to have to look it up later. I meant to, but I had to get to talking to these guys because we got some stuff to talk about. The end of an off day. This is running on the morning before the final series of the season. Hosting Detroit ought to be a fun one as the team is really seemingly starting to click. Perfect timing to play Detroit. But first, let's go around and introduce my three guests here. Of course, good vibes, Jacki Crestel. She is showing up. I have not seen the tankard yet, but keep an eye out. If you are watching, keep an eye out. Some sneaky stuff in there sometimes. It is the dude from downstate. Again, just explain to him that we are contractually obligated to have somebody from the University of Illinois on every one of our podcasts. Darrin Brown is the man representing. I believe the good news is, Darrin, you have just made the play-in round of the Section 108 tournament, which puts you in the top 888, I believe. So congratulations, good news to you. And I imagine you're going to take a Cinderella run all the way to the top. Congratulations there.
Can't wait.
And Zachariah, Jeremiah, well, we just call him Zach. It's Zach Hayes. He's doing a little bit of everything for us. Sometimes he's recapping, sometimes he's six-packing, sometimes he's podcasting. He is rarely, if ever, smiling. That frown. Excellent. Okay. It is the happiest guy on our Southside Sox podcast. It is Zach Hayes. Welcome, Zach. And let's get to what we have to discuss here. And first of all, hey, happy 13th anniversary of the Blackout Game. And again, maybe there's a lot of hype attached to the Blackout Game because after all, they didn't do anything in the ALDS against the Rays. They were gassed by the time they even got to game 163, but they did manage to win that one. And speaking as someone who is there both at that game and in the entire home run in 2005 of playoffs, the Blackout Game was absolutely the most thrilling game I've been part of watching in my White Sox fandom. Obviously, the meaning of the game was far less, but the idea that you played a role in the game as part of the Blackout, which, by the way, I was smart enough to wear black clothing. I wasn't quite as much of a rebel then.
Hat?
I'm trying to figure out because in the photo we ran today on site, I'm like, man, it seemed like that could have been a 147 shot. And man, there was a dude up in the corner who looked like, my eyes aren't sharp enough to tell. Looked like he was wearing a Sioux hat. And I thought, could be. It would have been a good luck move I would have made. So it could have happened. It was a good luck hat. Hey, it brought the team good luck that time. Now, apparently, the dude, Darrin Brown, I think he maybe was born by 2008. Jacki or Zach, did you happen to be at that game or do you have memories of that game? And of course, Darrin, you can throw in too, even though you were, prepubescent or whatever.
I think Zach was 5 years old. Actually, in preparation for this podcast, I went to my box of memorabilia and I pulled out my black towel.
We talked about this.
This is my black towel from the Blackout Game.
All right. Keep talking, Jacki. Hold on. Keep talking.
Okay. So let me tell you my story from the Blackout Game. What I remember is that I just remember getting last minute tickets. Me and my friend Matt went. And what I remember most is because I'm a pitcher, it was a pitcher's duel. And that's what I like. John Dakes, I think, was it a one hitter? I can't even remember. But I remember Danks being, oh, you got your towel.
Represent. It's used daily in our kitchen. It's still.
Oh, really? I tried to look to see if maybe it was really honestly from Bed Bath & Beyond, but it's from MacArthur Towel in Sports.
Yep.
Towel in Sports is a really niche kind of business to run. But that's what MacArthur does.
It was very clever how Scott Reifert just planned to have that semi full of small black towels just topple on the Dan Ryan right before that game. So the White Sox personnel could just scoop them all up, this unbranded piece of ridiculousness that ends up being perhaps the best promotion in White Sox history.
Yeah, I mean, it's 13 years later and I'm keeping this. I'll keep it for the rest of my life. That was one of the best things I've ever been to.
Mint condition, Jacki. I mean, your eBay value is great. Mine, has pizza sauce stains and that. But hey,
I wonder what that conversation was like when they realized they're like, "Hey, let's just get 35,000 black towels Like, great. Who do you call?
Mhm. Yeah,
You call
for sure.
MacArthur.
MacArthur. Yeah.
Apparently you call right to
Who has
China.
30,000 black towels hanging around?
Yeah.
MacArthur team and towel, or what is sports and towel?
Yeah, it's all about team, says MacArthur.
Yeah, it's all
So-
about. You know what? When I read that, Brett, I thought it said it's all about tea. It took me a long time to realize that the M was there. I'm like, it's all about tea.
That's what makes us so charming. I think we've discussed. I mean, again, I'm sorry for listeners who've had to listen to the tedium of Blackout Game talk, because a lot of our writers were at that game or have great memories. That's like their favorite game. So it's come up a lot in the Meet the Players podcast. But it really was, as Zach alluded, just the. There's a quaintness and an innocence. I'm guessing that next week or for the first game, for the re-blackout for the 13 year later, I'm guessing, I don't know that you're going to get this pure black towel that you could use 13 years later in your kitchen. I'm guessing there's going to be something, hopefully not like blazing like white, some, like Pepsi, but I'm guessing there's going to be some, I'm guessing it's not just going to be like, what the hell is this? Oh yeah, it's MacArthur towels.
Like literally, who has a warehouse full of towels hanging around?
So I mean, the idea that it's going to have to be just a little bit more tainted than before. There's just this innocence about the 2008 thing where it's like literally somebody spoke up in the room talking about the play as they're doing this ridiculous 3 games against 3 teams and 3 wins in 3 days. Like somebody decides to just raise their hand and say, yeah, black towels, blackout. And then they're like, yeah, quick. And, they're like dispatching to the city and suburbs to grab as many of these MacArthur towels as they can, or whatever the story is. It's just not going to be as cute this time around. I think that's what makes it so special. And the fact that everybody bought in, you see the visuals from that game and they're still pretty amazing.
Well, the last time the White Sox were in the playoffs when they played that blackout game, I was not quite 5. I was old enough to be on punishment and grounded for something or another. And that was the exception was made. I had no TV, no electronics, no contact with the outside world except the school bus. But I was allowed an exception to watch the blackout game and then watch the playoffs. So circumstances fortunately slightly better this time around, but maybe something will happen between now and next.
Yeah,
Friday.
you could still. You could still be punished, Zach.
You never know where it's going to come from. But yeah, I don't know. I think even for someone who was 13 when that happened, there is kind of a quaintness to that whole run there, where I think it was you said it a couple podcasts ago, just like playing with house money, along for that was a real along for the ride type run right there.
Yeah. Now, Darrin, you were young enough, slightly younger than Zach, probably also on punishment, but this has to be one of your formative moments as a fan. If you were a Sox fan at the time, it would have had to be a pretty major early moment for you.
Yeah, I'm sure I watched it with my dad in our house. I've seen the game on YouTube in its entirety, and my favorite moment is the Ken Griffey throw because of AJ Przinsky showing Michael Kadire that he has the ball in his glove.
He always finds a way, man. He always finds a way. And at least this time it was totally legit. It's not like he fell down in the baseline and like got some crazy call from the umps, or I don't know, the dropped third strike. Okay. I mean, that was legit. I mean, he muscled up at a time when you could still bowl over a catcher, which it doesn't seem like it should be that long ago. And yeah, I mean, it'd be legit. Sorry, Kadire, you did get tagged out. You gave him everything you had. He held on to the ball what a gripping moment. Yeah, I mean, the game went quick. And then the last third, still went quick, but was gripping between what Jim Thome did, which that ball may still not have landed somewhere near the picnic area, the party deck, and what AJ did. And then again, Brian Anderson doesn't have a lot of highlights with the White Sox for a guy who was preordained as the Aaron Rowand replacement. But that was a good one. Even if he stutter stepped enough just to make it a dive and thrilling. Hey, listen, he is in the Sox highlight reels forever. Somehow Brian Anderson is a key part of White Sox history.
On top of that, that was kind of the last hurrah for Bobby Jenks too. He had a couple more years there, but that was his last big save moment, I guess, that I could think of.
Yeah. And what I liked that I hadn't remembered in rereading Michael Kenny's piece, which he ran on site. This is at a time when he was actually our transitional caretaker of the site before I took over. He had a series looking back 10 years later at the 2008, the whole season. And we reran his write-up, his very detailed write-up on the tiebreaker game. And I hadn't remembered that Jenks, who had lost some velocity, just killed it for that inning. He was up pushing 100 again, like it was the World Series, like it was 3 years earlier. So he did have some sort of extra gear to tap into, which was sort of cool too, because they needed that, a 1-run game. There's not much margin for error. And Zach, you're right. I mean, the margins for error for him were coming more and more frequently. So you're right. That was maybe a last big highlight, certainly the last national spotlight highlight for Big Bad Bobby. That's for sure. Is there excitement in anticipating now that the White Sox are actually going to finally have another home game? It seems preposterous. It would be 13 years between home playoff games that the White Sox are bringing this out again. It seems like it'd be something perhaps you'd forget about because it's like, wow, that was a really long time ago. Again, some of you weren't born, but is this a neat novelty, or does this just feel like some nostalgia being shoved down throats?
Feel like it's nostalgia. I'm pumped. I'm pumped up. I was excited when I heard that they were going to do the Blackout promotion again, because I mean, it would be naive to think that it would capture the magic of that first Blackout game, but it's going to have its own magic. It's going to have its own flavor. And you know what? As long as the team is winning, it's all good. It's all good.
See, that's good vibes. That's good vibes, Jacki Crestel. Thank you very much. And on cue, takes a sip. Now, am I wrong? Now, again, I should know this because, this was right in my wheelhouse. Jacki, perhaps yours too. Zach, I guess you were off punishment, so all right. They did not continue the Blackout in the divisional series, did they? I remember having a feeling of disappointment that it's like, well, wait, now we're just dropping this thing because we're playing the Rays. I was at the 2 playoff games, 1 win, 1 elimination loss. There was no Blackout. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. They only did it for the tiebreaker game.
I mean, I understand they ran out of towels, but you could still say, hey, dress in black. It was a cool thing. People sort of did it.
Because they ran out of towels. They didn't know.
It's like, come on, you don't have to have the towel. First of all, most of the people are still going to come. I would have still had my towel. So, anyway, yeah, Thunder Sticks is way cooler, whatever. They're socks. They're giving away socks for, oh God, yeah.
I also brought out my rally sock from 2005 because I didn't know.
I mean, come on. I mean, look at this. You got this. I mean, sorry, podcast listeners, you may just have to go visual because we got a lot of visuals going on. I mean, come on. Really the cool, ridiculously unbranded black towel versus, waving white socks. It's just, it's a little too literal, even for Darrin and Zach, very young fans at the time. They were probably rolling their eyes like, oh yeah, okay, the promotion is to wave socks, white socks.
We're very original. No, the Blackout was way cooler. It fit our persona a lot better.
All right, well, White Sox, let's not just have like the first game of what will be a long home playoff run this year be the Blackout. Let's carry it all the way through. I know you've said you will. So that means probably 2 semis getting toppled over on the Dan Ryan, not just 1, because you need enough to give to people who aren't going to be able to go through the entire playoff run. Let's do it because it is an incredible visual. I'm looking forward to running those photos as soon as a week from now. All right, let's move on from the Blackout game. Let's just talk state of the White Sox before we take our break. Things seem to be clicking. We got sort of some good news, though. The velocity wasn't there for Carlos Rodon. The excellent pitching certainly was. Seems like he pitched his way into a possible, I don't know, number 4 starter role, maybe number 3 starter role. And the hitting seems to click. This lineup is pretty well intact now, and we're seeing the damage it can do. Your feelings about the state of the team with just 3 regular season games to burn before the real stuff starts?
I'm so pumped up, man. I'm so pumped up. By the way, I spoke to my father who's in the hospital before we came on here. And I asked him what he thought of Rodon and where he would fit in the rotation. So just so everyone knows, Chico thinks that Rodon is our number 4 starter behind Lynn, Giolito, and Cease. And I agree.
Yeah. In that order? In that order?
In that order. Yeah.
All right, Papa Crestel, Chico. Yeah, again, me and
Papa
Jackie
Johnson.
figured somehow we are very distantly related. Somehow we're still trying to figure that out, but the tree is very complicated. Okay, so Chico's weighed in. Excellent. Darrin, Zach, what are you thinking about how you use Carlos Rodon in the playoffs?
So I know Tony said, I think it was in the presser yesterday, that the whole like Rodon and then Kopech for 3 was not necessarily going to be a thing, but like it really should be. So why are we even like playing these games?
Gamesmanship.
I mean, Rodon, yeah, the velo's gone. I think we're at the acceptance stage there. He can still be an effective pitcher, like as opposed to the last time he was throwing 90 poo. He has like a real changeup, and he has much better. He knows where it's going now, so he's fine. But you don't want to. I mean, he's just not going to give you probably more. You don't want him going more than 3-4 innings. You let Kopech tape over, and like I said, I don't know why they even bother with the. Just say like, yeah, we're getting him stretched out so we can like piggyback him in some capacity. It's like, it's there. We know it's coming.
Tony La Russa is rocking his NHL head coach thing. He's going to just say upper body injury. He's going to just be very vague. And he's, it's his gamesmanship. He doesn't want the Houston Astros to figure out what the White Sox are going to do.
Right. It's just funny because it's like, do you think like it doesn't matter at whatever point Kopech comes into the game? Do you think the Astros are going to be like, oh my God, no, Kopech now?
We were planning on Mike Wright. That was the perfect 1-2 punch.
Like, yeah, it doesn't matter. He'll do his thing, but I think him and Rodon in some capacity would be pretty awesome 1-2 punch for a game 4.
Darrin, offensively, what are you seeing from the team? And do you think that it's about time, given we've waited almost the whole season to see this lineup intact? I still think it's been less than maybe 20 games, maybe about 20 games where we've had technically something close to a full lineup healthy. Is this what you would have anticipated seeing had opening day been full health?
Yeah, I think that if have a full healthy roster, then this is one of the best offensive teams in the league. And you're starting to see that now with guys like Luis Robert heating up, guys like Larry Garcia doing well, which was a surprise, after starting off pretty bad. And it seems like I know that's kind of the old saying, everybody's clicking at the right time. And, whether that really matters or not, depending on postseason results, but it seems like they're trending in the right direction. It's good to see headed into, something that we haven't been able to see in a while, which is the ALDS and beyond, hopefully.
This is a strong offensive team with a lot of great offensive performance, but Luis Robert is making the rest of the team sort of look ridiculous. I know he's hot, and when he looks, at least last year, I don't know how much he's looked bad this year. I assume it's happened. Last year, I know he had an MVP first half of the mini season, and then a AAA second half of the mini season. But this year, he's jaw dropping, and I don't know if it's a matter of, are they not scouting him, or has he really adjusted enough to hit the pitches, the pitches away? It seemed like he was just chasing last year. Is the lineup so stacked that you can't really mess around with Luis Robert, and you do have to pitch to him because he's killing it, and he looks like a clear MVP on a team full of pretty offensive, strong offensive players?
Well, I mean, if they haven't figured it out by now to not, that they can't pitch around them, I don't see why, barring any kind of trash can banging, I don't know how they're going to get around that.
You know what, Jackie? That's, I'm going to round that into good vibes. And that's a perfect transition for our very short break. We got a little mini second half of the show. We're going to talk a little bit more specifically about Houston because, hey, the trash cans may be banging again. It probably won't be trash cans, but who knows what it will be, because we know what those dirty Houston Astros are capable of doing. And who's to say they're just going to drop it? They got a slap on the wrist before. Who's to say they're going to drop it? Anyway, forget the conspiracy theories. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back with my 3 wonderful, wonderful Southside Sox guests as we talk and look forward to the Houston Astros, likely beginning in Houston next week. Hey, I don't know what podcast this is. I'm going to figure it out and actually label it accurately when this actually publishes, but it's 60 something. And I've got wonderful guests, the dude, Darrin Brown, good vibes, Jacki Crestel. And listen, Zach Hayes, he's just always around. He's awesome. He's smiling. He's joking. He's having a lot of fun with us. And he's with us here on this podcast too. We got a short second half of the program here, and we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about Houston. When I hit record on this, I believe Houston was ahead 3-2. I don't know if that is still the score. It does seem like it's a matter of time before they wrap up home field advantage. I think it's safe to prepare for the White Sox having to start on the road, which on one hand is trouble, but as much as I've been talking down the notion of, oh man, we're going to go to Houston, we're going to get swept out of the first round, because I'm just such a bad vibe guy. Let's not forget that they played Houston very much not at full strength. They're maybe the rotation is not as strong as it was then, but the batting lineup certainly is stronger than it was when they got pretty much embarrassed by Houston. I don't know if that offsets. I don't know if that more than offsets, because I think overall the team is stronger now. Do we feel better about the possibility of sneaking away with at least a win in Houston and giving us the opportunity in front of a bedecked black crowd waving their MacArthur towels, next week? Do you think we can get out of this very tough ALDS matchup?
I think the chances of a split are better than I might have thought a week ago, because the Sox are going to have a big advantage in that second pitching matchup, whatever it is. I think they match up pretty well with Framber Valdez, whoever the Sox end up going with whether it's Giolito or Lynn. The lineup has been gelling the last few days now that they're together. That being said, the idea of game one in Houston against Lance McCullers is not something I'm not thrilled about. I'm fairly, from what I've seen around the various places of the internet, it seems likely that McCullers is going to be the guy there. He's gone 7 innings, given up 1 run, like 3 of his last 4 starts against the Sox. He shut him down twice this year. Not good. But the way the lineup has been hitting lately, I again really like that game 2 matchup against probably Framber Valdez and whoever they throw at you after that, whether it's Jose Urquidy or Zach Greinke or Luis Garcia or some combination thereof. Like, the Sox are almost certainly going to have some kind of pitching advantage. So yeah, I don't know. This is a long way of saying I don't know. There's a lot of things that are really just kind of a toss up at this point.
I am choosing to interpret your answer, Zach, as McCullers is due. He's due to get his hiney whooped by the White Sox offense. So that's how I'm going to take it, because I'm transitioning from bad vibes to good vibes. So good vibes, dude. What are you thinking?
Make the trip over eventually.
Yeah, you're on your way. I saw that smile. Feeling better about going in. I mean, obviously we're going to go into game 1 feeling good, right? Anything can happen, and the Sox can easily sweep just because the regular season means, whatever, only so much. It's a little scary and daunting. Houston's tough, but you got to like the way the Sox are rolling into a series against anybody, including Houston.
Yeah, absolutely. What I was going to say offensively, what I would like to see, I think our big hitters are clicking and showing there. I'd like to see more input from the bench guys, namely people like Adam Engel or Andrew Vaughn. I want to see more from them because I think that's important. And I just want to add that Houston is up 3-2 in the top of the 9th, but Tampa Bay's got something cooking.
Tampa Bay. God dang, Tampa Bay. Most wins in the AL. They won every freaking league this year. That team.
I don't know what to hope for, honestly.
I mean, you got to admire Tampa. I mean, as much as they're a butt of many different jokes, I mean, what they put together from the top to the bottom of the organization this year is, if not unprecedented, is truly extraordinary. So hats off to them until we play them and crush them. We're going to go down to the hovering sombrero sweep. We're going to come back to Chicago in front of the black. Forget about it. Darrin, how are you feeling specifically going up against Houston, knowing game one starting matchup is going to be very tight. Let's call it even. Offenses and the home field advantage in Houston. How are you feeling about that?
I feel pretty much the same as what you were talking about, where it's the postseason, anything can happen. And I'd say I'd rather play Tampa than Houston. I think some other people would share that sentiment, but I feel like Houston would be, I think it would be close at least, but I feel it would be 50-50 as far as the outcome. And either way, I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't want any piece of Tampa. It's not just bad vibes from the blackout era when they pretty much ran through the White Sox. It's just, somebody could die on the field and the guy who replaces him is going to be better. It's just, the team is infuriating and delightful, except when we're playing them. So I'd like them just to get somehow upset, so the White Sox have a clearer path to the World Series. Who is, we've talked about this, I think, in the postgame podcasts a week ago. So let's just bring it out again, because perhaps, who knows, answers may have changed. Who is your number one starter? It does seem like it's going to be either Lucas Giolito or Lance Lynn. Who is it for each of you?
Lance Lynn.
Still Lance Lynn. Good vibes sticks with Lance Lynn. Zach, are you still sticking with Lance Lynn?
Yeah, it's closer than it was the last time we spoke about it. But
if there's just an extra week of the season.
Yeah, Giolito looked better than expected. Lynn maybe a little not so good as I expected, but yeah, I still, given everything I just said, like I want the Bulldog out there against their best starter, and I want Giolito out there against their number 2 when he's going to go 8 innings and completely crush all of their dreams of a comeback. So.
Darrin, do you choose to knot this up? Because I am voting Lucas Giolito. Are you going Lucas, or are you sticking with Lance Lynn, going with the field?
I think we're gonna have a hung jury here. Go 2-2. I'll go Giolito.
Yeah, I like what he did. Game, even on the extra rest, there was all the voodoo about, he doesn't like extra rest. He hasn't pitched statistically well on long rest last year, and he just came out and killed it. He has had, I thought he was going to win the Cy Young this year. A little secret, going back to the predictions. I might have also been the only person on staff who didn't pick the White Sox for the playoffs. That may or may not be true. But I did. What is true is I picked Lucas Giolito, and I wasn't the only one for AL Cy Young, and he certainly didn't have an AL Cy Young year, but I still like him as the leader and the ace of this team. And if we're talking about somebody, I think some of the logic was in pitching Lynn, that he's a guy who could come back in a game 5. And given his health, I know, of course, it's an option, a desperation game 5. Of course, you got to, throw whoever you can out there, but I'm more confident in Giolito being able to come back, not hurt himself worse. I mean, now this isn't even we're not burning Lynn for free agency now. He's with the team in 2022. I don't want to necessarily screw him up in any way if we can avoid that as well. Any logic there, or are you guys just going to stick to your guns and not come to me and Darrin's side?
I would actually turn that around and say I like the idea of Giolito game 2 as a potential stopper, or as someone who can really, drive the nail in the coffin. I remember writing up a playoff preview of their series with Oakland last year, and I remember saying that if the Sox, I don't know if I actually put this in the thing or not, but like if the Sox are going to win this series, they're going to need to do it in 2 games. If it gets to a game 3, it's probably, and that's, you had Keuchel going game 2, and as good as Keuchel was last year, the stuff is still what it is. You don't feel great about him as your number 2 playoff starter. Whereas now I think I do kind of agree with you that I think Giolito is probably more reliable right now. He's probably the better starter, but I think the difference is small enough that I kind of like Lynn's playoff history enough to not feel like uncomfortable about it. And then you go down 1-0, you got your best pitcher going game 2, you go up 1-0, you can really, kick their teeth in.
Okay, this is scary. I'm going to ask you to get into the mind of Tony La Russa, but it is slightly a wrinkle on that question. Who do you think Tony is going to pick? And is that different from your answer?
I mean, I think he's going with Lynn. He's the guy he's had in the playoffs before. So
okay,
would be pretty surprised. But what do I know? So
yeah, I guess he can remember that far back. Hopefully he's blocked out his, I don't even want to mention the name because Jacki yelled at me last time I mentioned it, but hopefully he can block out his really bad World Series decision last time he was in it, and he can just focus on having Lance Lynn on his team last time he was in the World Series, I guess. I hyped Luis Robert already, but let's flip it over to the offensive side of things. And who are you most excited to see hitting in the playoffs? Or I guess the better question is, who do you think the White Sox offensive MVP in this first round is going to be? Who do you think is hottest coming in or going to do the most damage, whether they're hot now or not?
It's got to be Luis Roberts. Like he's the guy right now. But also usually as Tim Anderson goes, so goes the team. And he's just fun and exciting to watch. So I'm looking to see a lot from him. And he's been with the team the whole time through horrible years. And I'm excited to see him kind of dip his toes into the playoffs. And I want to see what that brings out in him. And so I'll be looking at Tim Anderson as well. And like I said, the bench guys, I want to see them come through too, to support the big hitters.
Yeah. To break in quickly, Tim Anderson, he broke or tied or whatever, some sort of record last year, right? He had like 4 or 5 hits in his first playoff game. He did go banana. So he did show up for sure. And he might be really well rested. Do we have status? I haven't checked it out. Do we have status of what is he going to sit out the last 3 games with this ridiculous suspension? Is he going to punt that to next year? Because he could be very well rested.
I think he's going to punt it. I don't know why you would. Yeah, I would be more surprised if you didn't want to get in a rhythm before the playoffs, because then you're not playing for like a week and before the first playoff game. Yeah, that's kind of iffy, I would imagine, from a player's perspective. Yeah, I think it's got to be Luis, though. I mean, I think from a narrative standpoint, the timing is just too perfect for him to this is when he explodes onto the national consciousness, if there is a time before next year. I think a lot of people still kind of have the memory of him fading down the stretch last year. They remember a guy who strikes out a lot, that chases all those sliders out of the zone and still has a lot of potential. And because the team was cruising so much the second half, his this insane stretch that he's been on is kind of flown under the radar. So, he's the hottest man this side of Yasmani Grandal right now. And if it's I don't see why if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs, it's because he keeps doing that. And he's going to really introduce himself to the, top 10 player conversation nationally.
And sort of as a nod to what Tim did last year, Luis, he was slumping so badly, and then he hit that 650-foot home run last year against Oakland, which was pretty awesome. He sort of gave a flare, like said, hey, I'm not dead yet. Is it Luis, Darrin, or do you have some? Yeah.
No, I was going to say, Zach, I'm glad that you mentioned Yasmani Grandal. Otherwise, Crystal O'Keefe might have staged a mutiny.
Yeah. I just got a message from her. She somehow sensed that we had not mentioned Yasmani yet. And there are probably several other staffers who are howling right now, just knowing that we haven't mentioned them yet. Darrin, are you going to just go again with the field here and Luis, or is there someone else you think is going to break out as sort of the guy for the offense?
And the main guy, my answer would be Luis or Grandal. I like both of those guys. I'd be curious to see how Gavin Sheets does if they keep putting him in that 8 spot. I think he could have a couple of good games and be a key piece to the lineup.
Yeah, Andrew Vaughn's just sitting back like, hey, man, I'm the left fielder, I'm the right fielder, I'm the whatever fielder next year. And suddenly Gavin Sheets is like, well, I'm here too. Guys really showing up, really in both his stints up with the big team. And certainly down the stretch showed, better than Vaughn, who was having a back problem or a neck problem or a knee problem or whatever his problem was, a Tony La Russa problem. I'm not sure what it was. But yeah, Gavin Sheets like an X factor on this team, which is sort of delightful because he's like from our system and he's actually doing better than we could have ever sort of hoped for. And sort of extraordinary. Luis is going to be fun to see in these playoffs because that guy confident, Tim Anderson's got the swagger. And, as I think Jacki pointed out, as we all know, he really is the straw that stirs the drink. I mean, he is the barometer for this team, no doubt, as much as like Pito is, the captain or whatever. It really is the temperature check is Tim, but man, the guy with the swagger who has the raw talent to push swagger even higher is Luis Robert, and it's thrilling to think what really both of those guys. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be hitting top of the lineup most games or not, but the idea of these guys are a number of the combination that this lineup can throw at you full strength. Is frightening. Do we anticipate Detroit being a pretty productive offensive series for the White Sox and that rolling into Houston? Do you think this team is going to be, let's say, what's the benchmark? 5 runs a game. I know it's playoffs, so things are going to get moved down. Do we see a good 4 runs a game output from this offense, especially given the fact they really throw only one stopper starter at you?
Man, I hope they don't get you.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're gonna kind of just sit back and like take it easy and rest, or if we're just gonna try to. I mean, we're already kind of clicking going into the off season, and I'd like to see that continue. So I I will say I hope I see like at least 5 runs a game. That would be nice. And as long as we don't hit anybody and get into that nonsense, I'm going to be happy with the series.
Oh, but Tony sort of really wants it. It's like, that's like
I
his thing. He's
know.
like, I'm going to show you why I'm a valuable manager because the Beanball Wars is where I'm a Hall of Famer. It's like, okay, well, he just wants to scoot out onto the field again, I think,
I want to see
know
him
if you
playing
brought it up,
relaxed
but-
this weekend. Oops, sorry, Darren. Go ahead.
No, I just say I don't know if you brought it up, but like kind of excited for the Tony La Russa Dusty Baker matchup with the White Sox Astros, if that were to happen.
Who do you think can run to the plate faster, Tony La Russa or Dusty Baker?
I think it's got to be Dusty. I mean, he was actually a legit major league player. I mean, I don't know what their injuries since have been. I know he's got a couple of years on Tony, so I'm going to, at least because Dusty would be gutsy enough to like dive for home from the dugout. I think I would have to give it to Dusty at least by an eyelash. But he might also stick himself with his
That's
toothpick.
fair.
So there's a lot of injury
Well,
possibilities.
you know his kid can make a nice time to the plate from
Yeah, way back in
Yeah.
the day. Oh, yeah. Yeah, little Dusty Jr. All right. Well, I think we've covered what we need to have covered for this unnamed or unnumbered podcast. Thank you, Zach Hayes. More smiles per moment on this podcast. An incredibly awesome trend to see. Darrin Brown representing two teams not represented in any of the other looks that anybody presented here. Again, if you're not watching, I know there's only like a dozen of you, but if you're not watching, maybe you should watch. We got black towels we've been waving. We've got Zach Hayes smiling. We've got Darrin Brown throwing both a Blackhawks and an Illini look. And of course, as always, good vibes, Jacki Kressel rocking. We got the Simon and Garfunkel. We got the acoustic. And we got the tankard. So it's just a perfect look.
It's a slaughter.
Yeah, that's probably what you said last time. Okay. Well, anyway, whatever number this is, we're wrapping it up. We are probably going to have a lot of podcast activity, maybe not through the weekend because, hey, come on, everything sucked. They're playing the Astros, very likely starting in Houston next week. So that's pretty much wrapped up, I think. But we're going to be doing probably pregame playoff, off day podcast before the playoffs, post game stuff. It's going to be relentless. You guys are going to say, no, I don't want any more, but we're going to continue to give you more, which is what we always do here at Southside Sox. So thank you as always for reading, sometimes watching and listening to our podcast. Thanks everybody for joining. And